Hello everyone, welcome, I'm Robert, and today I want to discuss Lord of the Rings LCG. And there's a lot of topics I want to cover. I want to talk about the status of my collection, creating custom tokens, enhancing the game, proxying thousands of cards, sleeving the game, as well as my experience with the Dwarrowdelf cycle, which I just completed. So this game hadn't hit my table for a couple of years, just, with how many solo board games I cover and I still have on my shelf of shame. But my wife and I started watching the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies. So it reminded me, I really like this game. It should hit the table again. So I went ahead and, dusted off the box and it hit the table. And it was really fun playing the Dwarrowdelf cycle between watching each of the movies. But one of the first things I want to discuss is the age-long question. Should you play this game solo or two-handed? Now, as it happens, I had plans to make a video where I discussed that I had pretty much given up the idea of playing solo board games two-handed because there's just so many good games that don't force you to play two-handed. For example, Marvel Champions and Arkham Horror to some extent if you have a pretty decent collection. Because every time that I came back to playing two-handed with those two games I mentioned, gosh, it was just such a hassle. Okay, so as far as Marvel Champion goes, I never play that two-handed again. And although in a recent Arkham Horror video, I made a stance where I said that I'm open to playing both, I think I've changed my stance since, and I'm just gonna play that only controlling one character. Like, I tried starting a campaign with two characters, and it's just so much more to manage after you've just completed a one-character campaign. It's just a lot. But now I come back to this game, and I played solo, one-handed, and it just really started to irk me how restrictive the deck construction can be if you're playing progression, which is my preferred way to play the game so far. You really have to have a deck that does everything, and some of the scenario effects just do not scale well with one player. And now, mind you, I wasn't close to the idea of playing this two-handed. I had done so in the past and I had enjoyed it, but I still preferred playing it just with one deck. But with some of these scenario designs from the Dwarrowdelf cycle, I just gave up on the idea of playing this one-handed. I just can't. The deck construction is too restrictive. And once I committed to playing piloting two decks, the deck construction opened up so much, you have no idea. So yeah, moving forward, my way to play this game will be exclusively two-handed progression, but I will eventually come back to trying out those scenarios after I've grown my card collection. And with such deck building possibilities, I should be able to handle a lot of these scenarios just with one deck retroactively. So yeah, this game has definitely revitalized the idea of controlling two decks in a game, and there's little things that you can do to make that work better. For example, making sure that you have a spacious enough table, having a layout that makes sense. And one huge thing, one of the biggest game changers, if you want to control two decks, is using some kind of token that indicates when something is exhausted. Okay, when you exhaust things the conventional way, it just really makes the layout too unwieldy. So this is a must, and you can use any kind of thing, a pebble, a token, whatever you want. And I'll talk about how you can make those custom tokens later. But yeah, that's my discussion regarding two-handed. To me, two-handed progression style is the way to go moving forward. Once I go through most of the game like that, I'll go back to scenarios and do them one-handed. Now, I also want to discuss where I'm at with my collection. So before the game hibernated for a couple years, I had bought the whole Mirkwood cycle, Dwarrowdelf cycle, Against the Shadow cycle, and Ringmaker cycle, as well as some random Gen Con scenarios and the Nightmare decks for the core set and the whole Mirkwood cycle, as well as the Hobbit saga boxes and Movies 1 and 2 saga boxes. Now, because I didn't play the game for so long and I saw how expensive some of those boxes were getting, I thought that I would keep my collection limited, kind of how it happened with me with Arkham Horror, and figured, I'll just keep a couple cycles and leave it at that. So I decided to sell the Ringmaker cycle, and there's another reason why. There was a Ringmaker pack that I could not find at retail price. And mind you, I bought those last 2 cycles on sale really cheap for retail prices. But yeah, I decided to sell the Ringmaker cycle first because I didn't think that I would get to it with how many solo war games I'm accumulating. And also, I was missing a pack, which was really annoying me. I couldn't find it at retail price. So because it was missing a pack and I didn't think that I would be able to complete the cycle, I just sold the whole thing for a pretty good price. And then I sold the Hobbit and Numenor cycles because I really didn't think that I was gonna get to them because I hadn't even gone through the Dwarrowdelf cycle. I just had that whole cycle to go through, and with so many other solo board games that I have, I thought that should be enough, right? So I sold them and spend that money on other games. And now another reason why I confidently sold those cycles is because I was under the impression that Fantasy Flight Games was going to just reprint everything. So yeah, I was mistaken. I wasn't really keeping tabs on the details of their revised model. I thought that eventually they would release everything. So I felt pretty comfortable selling them because I just thought that at some point they would reprint them. But yeah, then a few weeks ago I dust my game box off. I start playing, and then I start catching up on what happened with the re-releases and all of that. And then I find out that the 2 cycles that I sold, like literally everything I sold, the Hobbit sagas, the Ringmaker, Heirs of Numenor, there's no plans to re-release them. So where does that leave me? So yeah, I have 2 of the original core sets, non-revised versions. I have the first 2 cycles, as well as the first 2 movie saga cycles completed. So now let's talk about Proxying. So yeah, because I've enjoyed the game so much these past few weeks, I really want to have the ability to go through the entire official content progression style. So I started slowly acquiring all of the revised content to fill in those gaps, but that left me with a few saga boxes and 4 entire cycles that they don't plan to reprint, which really sucks. So because I don't feel like paying over $1,000 for all of those missing sets, and FFG just refuses to print them, what does that leave me? That's right, proxying. So now I'm going to show you my method for how I have decided to proxy over 2,000+ cards over the course of the next few weeks, okay? Because I really just want to have access to all of these sets for me to play progression style. So to show you an example here, this is the first Hobbit Saga box completely proxied, and the method that I've gone with requires that you don't care about the card backs. I have decided to sleeve all of the player cards with Dragon Shield matte sleeves. Now, I have never decided to entirely sleeve an LCG like this. I decided to skip that idea for Arkham Horror and Marvel Champions. Well, the cost, obviously, 1 and 2, the storage nightmare that those LCGs would become if I decide to sleeve everything because they keep releasing content. So there isn't a set amount of cards, so I don't know when it'll stop. So yeah, I just don't want to deal with that. But with Lord of the Rings, there's 2 reasons. One, because I've decided to proxy a ton of cards, it will help me, and you'll see how in a second. And 2, and actually, the main reason why is because I realized while playing through the Dwarrowdelf cycle that man, there's just way too much swapping in and out of cards during deck construction, especially when you pilot 2 decks, and the sleeving and unsleeving of cards was just driving me up the wall, okay? So I decided that all player cards, which you see there on the corner, I'll show some of that in a second, but I've dedicated that box for all of the current player cards that I'm accumulating. I'm gonna have to get another one of those, but all player cards are gonna go sleeved in those boxes. And with that, in the proxying, proxies, now that means that I don't have to worry about the card backs, right? Now, you don't have to choose Dragon Shield, but I happen to already have a lot of them. So as you saw the box that I just showed you on camera, but I already had a ton because I ordered like years ago for another game that I decided then ultimately not to sleeve with that many, but I ordered a box like that, and I had a bunch of those sleeves unused. So I think combining all of the sleeves I had with that box should be enough for most of the player cards, okay? I might have to buy a couple extra boxes to round it out, but that should be enough for all the player cards. There's a Excel file that has all the math for all the sleeves you'll need. But here, what I'm showing is this is the Hobbit Saga Box A. So for the player cards, as you can see, they're all in black, and the heroes are in colored sleeves. But I will eventually make a dedicated video where I discuss all of my different proxying techniques. But if you're interested as to how I cut this in the fastest way possible before sleeving them, I'm gonna show you now, okay, how you print these sheets and cut them quick. If you are interested, let's cut to that. All right, folks, so now I'm going to share how I create proxies. And for me, this is the fastest way to do it. So here's what you're going to need. You're going to need one of these paper guillotines, which only cost like $10+ on Amazon, all right? You're going to need your proxies, of course. So hopefully they're going to come with guides. All of these types of sheets that arrange cards do for the most part. But yeah, make sure that when you find these proxies that it's the type that has the guides, okay? And of course, I recommend that if you're going to print many of these, that you have a high yield printer preferably. This is just an example that I printed. This is the first pack from the Mirkwood cycle, but it's just the first couple of pages. If you find this specific file, each cycle pack is about 8 pages, and each deluxe expansion is about 21 to 23 pages on average, just so that you have an idea of how many pages you're going to have to print per cycle, okay? All right, now in this case, I only have 2 pages, but what you do is you should stack at least 4 pages, maybe 5, but my preferred number is 4. So if you don't want to drive yourself nuts, you don't want to cut each page individually. That's just going to take way too long. So what you do is, you align the pages as best as you can, okay? And then you're going to staple them. I found for me that what works best is I staple this little gap right here on this side, and then here. Okay, so 2 staples there to keep them aligned, all right? So you don't have to worry about the pages misaligning. And again, I suggest that you do this with at least 4 pages, okay? I've done it up to 6. 5 is pushing it a bit. You can do it with 5. I prefer 4, just so that I don't wear the blade out too much, okay? And also, I'll show later that if you stack too many pages, you get a bit of fraying at the end, so the cuts are not going to be as clean. So I think the sweet spot is stapling 4 pages. So once you staple the pages, you're going to use the cutter, but before you do the cross cut, you should score each side, okay, to make sure that you're aligning it properly. So I just press here. So I scored it there, but it was a bit off, so I just moved the page up a bit more, and then I score it again. And there you go, that's a bit more accurate. And now I go to the other side, and I'm going to align it here. And there you go. Now I'm going to score it. And that's pretty good, but I think I could move it down just a little bit. I'm going to score it again. And there you go. That's a bit more accurate. So now that I've aligned it properly, I feel safe doing a cut. But the key here also is make sure that you don't cut it all the way so that, you cut the paper across, okay? Make sure that you leave a bit of the paper, uncut on both edges. So you're going to do the same for all guides. And, right now this might seem slow because I'm explaining it, but trust me, usually a stack of 4 pages takes me like 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes to cut all of them. So now you're going to do it on all sides like this. And then I'm going to rotate this and then do the last cut. So that was the last horizontal cut. Notice that I didn't cut all the way. The pages, the pages still have that frame basically to it, holding them together. So now we're gonna do the cuts in the other orientation, and it's gonna be the same thing. You're gonna try to align it as best as you can. You score it. Okay, that looks pretty good, I think. I score it here. That looks pretty good, and now I feel safe. Make sure that I apply good pressure. All right, and there we go. And now we move on to the next line. And I went ahead and removed that top there because it got stuck for a second. I bent it accidentally, but there we go. So now we do a cross cut here. There we go. All right, and there we go. So now we have this stack finished. and then we do the rest. And in this case, it is you're a bit safer when you get to the third card moving forward. It's okay if you if you cut across completely at this point. That's fine. All right, so once you've completed a stack of 4 to 5 pages, that's 32 to 40 cards proxied and cut in about 5 minutes. That's what it takes me. As I've gotten better over time, I do it faster. But yeah, in 5 minutes, you can cut out 32 to 40 cards after you've printed them, and then comes the sleeving part. And so once you've cut all of the cards that you need, you're going to have your stack of bulk magic cards, your stack of sleeves, and your stack of proxies. And then, you just align them like this together. And boom, there you go. Pretty seamless. If you print it at a higher quality, the darks are going to be darker. This was a lower quality print that I made just for example purposes. So another trick that saved me time as well is if you put your stack of cut cards on one side and then your bulk cards in the other, you can then start stacking them together like this, and then you can sleeve them all after. So for a whole deluxe, so for a whole cycle, it just takes me a few minutes to do this with my stacks next to each other, and then I can just move to sleeving. All right, and then once you have cut all the cycles, you then start sleeving the cards. For player cards, I decided to sleeve them in black, as you see. But now for the encounter cards, I decided to sleeve them in these red sleeves. Now on Amazon, you can find 1,000 of these sleeves for about $20-something, which is a steal, okay? Because I think this is the closest thing I'll get to the Eye of Sauron card back without me having to print the same amount for the card back, because if you want to have the card back, that's just going to require a way like double the amount of work basically. So I think sleeving them in red is a fine compromise. And eventually, once I print all of the cycles and sleeve them, I'm gonna put a nice label with the cover box and all of that. Now, of course, for this process, you're going to need bulk cards. Many of you, I would not be surprised if you have Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering cards, but currently on Amazon, which I'll leave a link, you can buy 1,000 bulk Magic cards for $20. So if you buy a couple of those boxes, you should be able to sleeve like six cycles or so. If you want to use this method, just buy 1,000 sleeves for like $20. If you decide to go with the cheaper sleeves brand, buy a box of 1,000 bulk Magic cards. And another reason why I like the Magic cards is because they have the black border, so they're a lot more seamless, especially for the player cards. They're a lot more seamless when you sleeve them with the card paper. So yeah, $20-something for 1,000 sleeves, $20 for 1,000 Magic cards. The printing part, of course, that'll depend. So if you have a high yield printer at home, or if you have or if you want to send them to Kinko's, that part will be up to you. So far, I've proxied all of the Hobbit saga, the both boxes, and here I have the Ringmaker and the Against the Shadow player cards. I also have the encounter cards separate. But next will be the Haradrim cycle and then the Vengeance of Mordor cycles, and with that I should have a complete collection, combining it with the revised content. And you can also find the sheets for each encounter very easily. On Board Game Geek, there's a link that has all of the releases and links to all of these instruction sheets that each pack comes with. And you can just cut it, and fold it exactly the same as the original. So you really have, for all of this content that FFG just has decided not to print, you really have everything you need to have it at home if you want to put the time, assembling the cards. And if you got wife and kids, you don't have to do it alone. It can be like an activity. You can sleeve a couple thousand cards over some music and some drinks. Why not? Oh, and another thing that I really want to talk about is the dog beer group order. So for those that don't know, and this is new to me too, so correct me if I explain this the wrong way, but apparently this is a group effort that's organized to print fan-made content. Okay, and it's something that happens annually or every other year apparently. So you submit, the cards that you want to have printed, and this is fan-made content and alt art content. Okay. And you submit what you want, and because it's being ordered kind of like a Kickstarter type thing, right? Everybody saves money because you are ordering alongside other people, so it doesn't cost you as much as if you made an individual order through other websites where you order custom-made cards. But this dog beer order has pre-con decks, and I love pre-con decks. It's like one of my favorite things from trading card games or any card game like this. I love pre-con decks. So I am gonna be definitely ordering from the MB group order from Dog Beer, and I want those pre-con decks that are offered. But to round out my collection, just to swap out some of the proxies that I'm making, I am going to be ordering the alt art packs, okay? So that I have some higher quality cards for heroes and player cards, so that I don't have so many proxies. So, between proxying the sets and adding the MB, alt art cards. Oh, and on top of that, I also found really cheap an extra set of used Fantasy Flight Games pre-con decks. So that will allow me to swap out a lot of proxies. But the reason why I ordered the second set of pre-con decks is because I really like having ready-to-play decks, and I don't want to take them apart just to replace, proxies. But yeah, between the second set of pre-constructed decks and the alt art cards and the pre-con decks from the MB order, I think I'm gonna be really happy with my collection, despite the fact that it's gonna have some proxies in them. Now, the encounter sets, I don't mind at all being proxied. I don't care about that. It's more the player cards that I wish I had all of them be the real thing. But yeah, man, when you look at the proxies, they're pretty much seamless. This is a deck of just proxies from the Heirs of Numenor Deluxe expansion. And, from a distance, you really couldn't tell other than the corners, honestly. So yeah, the fear of missing out with this game is very real, and that's why with Marvel Champions, I thought I was gonna stop, but I won't. I'm just gonna buy all of the content that they release as they release it, because I really can't imagine being a new player coming into this game and having all of this content that you can't easily access. It really, really sucks. And I really think that FFG with Arkham and with this, they really just should do a either print on demand or a crowdfunding campaign for reprints and just ship direct to customers. Just kind of do a bit of an unorthodox method to appease players who want to complete their collections, because if they sold it, I would just pay it immediately. And even after all the work that I'm doing, if they decide to release it, I'll buy it. Like, I don't care. So please, FFG, just release these sets. Anyway, so enough about FOMO, enough about proxying. Now let's discuss making custom tokens. So some of you might be familiar with this pretty popular tutorial that uses these Glass Cabochons. I've never used that word before. I don't even know if it's a Spanish word. Forgive me if I'm misspelling it. But Cabochons, however you spell that. Yeah, these Glass Cabochons, you buy them and then you print these token sheets and then you glue them, okay? I went through the work of doing this, call me crazy. I like them. I just don't like them more than the cardboard tokens. And I know that's going to sound insane. I just really like the original cardboard tokens. The colors are just so vibrant, and I like that they're the same on both sides. So I tried with the glass ones to apply the sticker on a glossy sheet on both sides. But even then, I just didn't end up preferring these over the cardboard ones. But, they're there. So I don't regret it completely, though, because there's also these tokens that the game doesn't include, right? So this ended up becoming useful. I found out that later on there's effects that allow you to attack or defend or quest without exhausting your character necessarily, okay? So that's why I'll actually have some use for this later when I start running into those effects, okay? And also another bonus of going through that process of making these tokens is that I decided to make these custom exhaust tokens using this old school Magic tab icon. So I love these, and I'm switching to these over these tokens, these generic grade tokens that I was using before. So this is definitely an upgrade, and the game doesn't include tokens like this. So I'm definitely, I'm definitely going to be using this moving forward. Now, I'm not going to take credit for making those, coming up with the proxies. It's very easy. I'm going to leave you a link to the tutorial, and I'm also going to leave you a link to the sheet that I made with the arrangement of tokens, okay? If you want to use the exact same tokens quantities that I made. But it's very easy. You only need a few things. You need, to print the tokens on regular paper, right? And if you want the tokens to have a specific color back, you just need some cardboard. So you just print the tokens, you glue them, and I just use glue sticks. You glue them to the cardboard, and then you use a hole punch. This is a 1.6 millimeter, or actually 16 millimeter hole punch, okay? The tokens have a diameter of 1.7, so there's going to be a bit of area. As you can see there's a bit of margin of error there, but there's 1.6 hole punch against a 1.7 circle. So you just punch out the token, and then you take the art side of the token and glue it against the Glass Cabochon. And the type of glue that I use is this, but pretty much any kind of glue that dries clear will work, all right? And then if you want to, you can print a secondary sheet and glue the other side if you want it to be double-sided, okay? But yeah, this is what the final result looks like. Here are the wound tokens with the red cardboard on the back, and here's the green cardboard on the other side. And my sheet includes the sphere of influence icons if that's something that you want for your characters as well. So yeah, definitely the sphere of influence icons and the attacking, defending, and questing icons, I'm definitely gonna use those. But everything else, I ended up preferring either using dice or the original tokens. I'm just being very picky about that, don't know why. But yeah, if you want to create those, it really is as easy as it looks. It really wasn't complicated at all, it's just a bit time consuming. Now, another couple enhancements I made, I printed this from Universal Head. This is the turn tracker, and if you saw my last, board game accessories video in typical fashion, I added a clip here to keep track of the turn structure. And if you're gonna play two-handed, you really have to follow your turn structure very closely, okay, so that you don't miss action windows, and to make sure that you gain your resources, draw cards, increase threat, and do all of those things at the appropriate time. So this I actually utilize the entire time I play this, just very, very carefully keeping track of the turn structure. And of course, I added some friction tape to keep it in place so that it doesn't move around. Now, another little improvement I made, I put aside the thread trackers that the game comes with, and I pulled this out, and I even ordered a new one separately. This is a really old product. I brought it up in my accessories video. You can buy one of these for under $10, but I'm gonna make a custom one with Sauron's Eye. Now, the reason why I prefer this is because, the 2 digits are already included on each dial, and check it out, it already goes up to 50, so it's perfect, right? So when I had to increase the threat for both players, it's just so much easier using this versus the 2 separate dials for the player. So this is one of the things that has reduced a lot of fiddliness for me, using this old dial. And also this is completely unnecessary, but because I sleeved the card backs black, I really do like this ring illustration. So I made a first player token using a coin capsule. The token sheet includes this if you want to do it yourself. This is a 30 millimeter coin capsule, and you just print the art on both sides, and then I took a gold Sharpie and colored it on the side. But I just really wanted to make a first player token with this art, which I really like. Oh, and because Magic the Gathering made they made a Lord of the Rings set, and then found out that this spin down die exist. So I'm using it to keep track of the amount of questing that I do every turn. So this was a nice little upgrade. All right, and now I want to finish with a quick review of the Dwarrowdelf cycle. I want to share my experience with that, what I thought of the scenarios, and then I want to talk about, a bit of a pre-talk before I go into the Hearts of Numenor cycle. So for the Dwarrowdelf cycle, I really had a lot of fun. To me, the MVP was Thalin. So first, the fact that he's a dwarf means that you get a stat boost from Dane, which is awesome. But then there's tons of scenarios where you can abuse that effect where characters come into play with 1 damage and then automatically when they're revealed from the encounter deck during questing. So I added, there were many times where I used cards that allow me to finish off characters that already had 1 damage on them. So I was able to use cards like Hail of Stones to, finish characters off in the staging area. And there were decks throughout the cycle where I also had cards like this, and this, so that I could just do direct damage and, the orcs would not even touch my characters. And also don't forget about infighting. This card also allowed me to abuse effects like that, moving damage around directly to the staging area or characters engaged with the players. Now, there were definitely a few scenarios where there were a couple of, BS like auto lose cards when you don't cancel them or if they come out at the wrong time or early on. And, I did read, because I've been playing the game, I've been reading a lot more about the design and what people think, right? And yeah, there's a consensus that those early cycles were a bit rough. No one had designed a game like this before, so the designers were kind of trying to figure out how to make interesting scenarios. But there were a lot of scenarios, including in Dwarrowdelf, where there's cards that if they come out at the wrong time, it's like an auto loss. So that didn't disincentivize me from playing or anything. I just built around that, and I make sure that I just having that preemptive knowledge of those cards existing or experiencing them during a trial run. You build around it and you do your best. But I only lost a couple times. I was able to, for the most part, beat each scenario two-handed progression just on the first tries. I did swap out cards. There were even a couple scenarios where I didn't even have to swap out anything. I had my direct damage strategy and my questing strategy on the other side here, and it just kind of worked out for certain scenarios. But definitely this last scenario against the Balrog, I did have to make completely new decks from scratch because this will require it, and it felt like a bit like, wow, how do I even beat this the first time I played it? But yeah, you just have to build a completely custom deck. Like like the deck that I used for the first scenarios for the whole cycle, pretty much none of that stayed. Like I had to make completely custom decks for this to work. But yeah, all in all, I did find it really fun. There's a lot of players that say that they never come back to these early cycles because they just find the difficulty to be too much BS. And now going into the, Heirs of Numenor against the Shadow cycle, I have heard that that's where they really turn up the difficulty and, it might really make you angry. So, I'm going in with that knowledge. I've heard that playing Monosphere decks is the, that's like a, pretty much if you don't want to suffer, you're going to have to play Monosphere. So that'll be interesting because I have not built Monosphere decks until now just because of the limited card pool. But I am definitely looking forward to trying Monosphere decks and, see how I fare against the Shadow cycle. And finally, I just want to talk a bit about how I organize the game. So I'm using those BCW shoeboxes for most of everything, honestly. I'm going to try and see if I can fit each cycle in one of those smaller boxes with a nice custom label with the cover of the deluxe expansion for each cycle. So I'm, once I sleeve everything and I have everything proxied or sleeved, or once I complete everything, I'll try to keep each cycle in its own box. But for player cards, I'm just gonna use those shoe boxes. And this is a box that I customized by carving one of the core set boxes. And what I keep here is like the tokens. Like if I want to play, I have like if I have ready to play decks from playing in the middle of the cycle, I put them here. I keep the dials and I store the tokens here, as well as the Fantasy Flight games, custom decks. I keep them here sleeved, ready to play. So that is what I keep here. But yeah, as far as storing player cards and counter sets and cycles, it's all just gonna go into BCW boxes. It's like one of the more economical ways to keep things stored and effective, really. Oh, and as far as heroes go, I have a binder for them. I store them in a binder and sleeve them in sleeves that match their sphere of influence. But yeah, folks, that's all I wanted to talk about with Lord of the Rings LCG. It has been a blast bringing this back to the table. And I also, by the way, I ordered the extended editions. Believe it or not, I've never seen them. So I'm looking forward to checking out the extended editions for all 6 movies. I also ordered the books because I've read that when you play the game, it helps you follow the books, especially with the more obscure characters that you don't see as much in the movies. So I'm looking forward to reading the books when I get a chance. And now that I have pictures of all of these characters, it should make it very interesting appreciating, the world more. But yeah, that's my Lord of the Rings obsession lately. It's been a blast, and I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, go ahead and put them in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.